Let's go ahead and get started. I'm David Vale, and our presenter is Daniel Pohl he's presenting from Germany, so real time from Germany.
Welcome. My name is Daniel Pohl, and I'm very happy today to give this presentation about from 3D photos to an immersive multiplayer VR gallery in the context of the 3DCon 2024. So first, a little bit about myself. As mentioned, I'm Daniel. I originally made a master's in computer science in Germany, and I worked for about 14 years at Intel, mixed in US and Germany a little bit. I worked there on topics like research on real-time ray tracing. I worked on cloud gaming, on virtual reality. Later, I moved to the drone division and did some obstacle avoidance algorithms there. During that, I filed a few patents, wrote various scientific papers, and since October 2021, I actually founded my own VR startup, immerVR, in Germany. The startup is fully self-funded, and so far we have 2 apps released, if you count it as 2, the immerGallery app and the demo version. There are 5 patents filed and various trademarks registered. So yeah, as I mentioned, the app immerGallery, I want to introduce it here. It is an app for virtual reality. Right now for the Meta Quest devices, there's the Meta Quest 1, 2, 3, and Pro. And very soon also it will be available on PC, for PC VR through the Steam platform. The price is $19.99, so it's oriented as a consumer product. And in this app, we have over 250 immersive sample images. It gets more and more every week. We have like weekly rewards. If you open up the app, you get a free gallery every week. If you collect all 4 weekly galleries, you get a free monthly gallery. And these are usually stereoscopic content, often VR 180 3D. Sometimes it's a drone gallery in 360. And yeah, always interesting things to see all around the world. Also with that app, of course, you can watch your own images, photos, your VR slideshows, and videos as well. And we also do have premium content available. These are like specific galleries where we really highlight some of the best pictures we took and we put them in historic context. So it's like a virtual sightseeing tour. And there we currently have 2 downloadable contents, DLCs, for East Germany, where we make a tour through various cities and tell you what dates this building was built and all the details. And we have one DLC on Egypt, which is our latest, which shows you beautiful sites, oceans, historic locations, and it comes with over 70 old 3D photos around the year 1900, 1903, which were partially restored and are in that package as well, and they're very, very good to be watched in VR. So yeah, talking about it, let's show you some movement in it. And for that, we do the trailer in the next slide.
Welcome to immerGallery. immerGallery is an immersive video and image viewer. It allows you to easily watch your VR 180 stereo, 360, or regular 2D and 3D content. Thanks to our automatic image format detection, you can easily navigate through your media. Enjoy our downloadable high-quality galleries, or create your very own with special effects such as snow and rain. Or just enjoy your drone pictures from inside a hot air balloon. You can add music and voiceovers, or listen to your own MP3s while browsing through your images. In our multiplayer mode, you can enjoy immersive media together with your friends. A zoomable map of your media location is just one of many features to explore. Look what other happy immerGallery users are saying. Wow! Get immerGallery now.
Let's talk a little bit about the advantages of virtual reality for 3D content display. So first of all, what you have in headsets today is higher resolution than what you have on 3D TVs, which are usually full HD at a maximum, and then you lose half the resolution for the 3D content. Compared to the, let's say, classical red cyan glasses, you do have full color in VR. There's no need to distort your perception with different colors. And I know some people are tolerating these glasses more and they don't have issues with it, but I also know certain people like myself actually get headaches and from these red cyan glasses pretty quickly. So in VR, you have full color, you have high resolution, you don't have any ghosting because the screens in VR are really physically separated. So you don't see any part of the other image, which is meant for your other eye in VR. Having VR with head tracking basically means, yeah, you can rotate around and you see different things, means that you have infinite displays in VR. And that means also if you present your content on a virtual cinema wall, that you can have it in any size. You can move it further away, you can bring it in closer. And also means your stereo photos or videos work in any kind of aspect ratio. That means you're not limited to your aspect ratio of your 3D TV. It means you can have landscape, you can have square 3D photos, you can have portrait 3D photos, whatever you want in VR. Yeah, just it gets displayed on the virtual huge screen. And besides just like the regular 3D side-by-side content that we know, which is like this 3D TV or 3D cinema style, in VR you can also do 180 degrees stereo VR or 360-degree 2D 3D. So basically means you can move your head around everywhere, look in different directions and see different content. Also, I know from experience with users, some sent me some sample pictures which they considered to be great, and they did only watch them on 3D TV in the past. So, but suddenly in virtual reality, we noticed, oh, well, your content is actually not, it is great, but it's not very well aligned. So on a 3D TV, it didn't make much of a difference, but in VR, because you have more detail, you have better resolution, everything, you notice your pictures need to be better. And that also means you can fine tune them better in VR, basically do a very nice stereo alignment and then verify it works in VR. And that makes very nice 3D content. Also, it's reasonably cheap to get into VR if you compare it to various camera prices. For example, the Meta Quest 3, one of the latest headsets, was just recently on sale for $429. Usually it's $499. And there's photos, there's videos, and I want to talk today also about a different in-between model, the VR slideshow. And I mostly focus on the center column now, basically comparing what parts of photo can we take, what parts of video to sort of make the best in-between solution. If you have a VR slideshow with images, the image quality is usually very high. You do have high resolution photos. You have very low compression on photos, meaning you don't have blocky artifacts if things are moving. You don't get motion sickness from photos. Some videos in VR are using maybe too much movement, which can make users sick. As long as they're image-based in VR slideshows, there's usually no motion sickness happening. If you select specific photos, they're usually more spot on. Like for every photo you include, you definitely say, okay, I put in this image because I want to do this and that. In video, sometimes there's a bit of, let's just film the scene, and it's not so dense in terms of information that you want to convey usually. You do have pretty low file sizes. It's maybe 10, maybe 20 megabyte per image. Audio files in MP3 are highly compressed, so almost doesn't count. And for VR slideshows, you can do background audio and you can do voiceovers. In terms of dynamics, we try to increase that a little bit, make it a bit more lifelike for photos. So we have special effects, which are 3D rendered on top of what you're seeing with the photos. For example, we have rain and snow, there's a meadow effect, and various other ones. And also you get a little bit of dynamic just through having consecutive images where you're telling a story starting with one image and then continuing over it. However, of course, if you want to capture a fully dynamic scene where a lot of movement is happening and this is what you want to present, then of course video is still the way to go. And what you can use is our great tool here, the immerGenerator, which we just released as a public version now. And it basically is a 2D desktop application for Windows. Maybe macOS might follow. It might run in Linux emulation through Wine, but it's not super verified. Right now, it's really the best to launch this in Windows. And what it actually allows you to do is we have a timeline down here where you can have various images. We have some various settings for it. And in effect, what is happening is that for every image you have, you can have one additional .immerVR file, which in immerGallery will be automatically connected to your image. And I put a very small version of it. It's not the purpose here to read it and memorize it, but basically just showing you what it does. So you have a beach.jpg, then the according file would be beach.immerVR. And that basically contains text information. So it's on purpose not binary. So if you quickly need to edit just a few things, you can do it in Notepad. It's not a big issue. And that basically controls how the image will be shown, what audio is connected, and if you have any special effects, what volume you use, and so on. And immerGenerator is a free tool. You can download it from our immervr.com website. Before we jump into using immerGenerator live here, I want to explain a little bit about the image formats which we are supporting in immerGallery. So for example, regular 2D, basically meaning any kind of regular photo you take with your smartphone or DSLR. Then we have the regular 3D format, which is basically this 3D TV or 3D cinema style where you have side-by-side 3D images. The other kind of media already mentioned earlier is 360-degree media. So 360 mono, there are a lot of cameras, I'll go into detail soon. And there's also 360 3D, so basically capturing with two spheres the full environment around you. And this may be one of the most interesting formats is VR 180 or 180 3D, half spherical medium. So basically from two lenses, you capture a half sphere all around you. What we also do support are panoramic images, like when you take your smartphone and you have a special mode where you capture panorama just by moving your phone. And so far, there hasn't been really any good display. If you display these panoramas on your phone, the aspect ratio just doesn't match. If you display it on a regular monitor, it doesn't match very well. On widescreen monitors, maybe better, but usually still doesn't have the right aspect ratio. And only in VR with infinite space where you can present your content, these kind of panoramas really make sense. So we're supporting these since January 2023. Another company later doing a VR headset was also heavily advertising this format, but yeah, of course, we implemented this earlier. And let's now have a little overview of the image format, specifically in the immerGenerator tool. And here's a full list, and I hope you don't get scared by it. You don't need to know everything about it. Generally, if you put in these images, you can just leave it at automatic, and the automatic image format detection in immerGallery, one of our prime features, will automatically recognize what image it is. But if you are setting it and you are now really more in the role of a content creator versus just someone putting random pictures on their headsets and just being a pure consumer. So if you want to optimize it a little bit, it is actually recommended that you would set it in immerGenerator already, because that means when someone else downloads your gallery, it's a little bit faster in loading because the image format algorithms don't need to be running. They are immediately set. And just to show you the most important ones, so regular 2D, as discussed before, regular photos, regular 3D is the regular side-by-side format. So VR 180 stereo, left-right, VR 360 mono, and down here we have various variants. For the Canon dual fisheye lens, there's a specific setting which makes the display better. Recently, we also added support for the half formats, and top-bottom is also getting more use, more in the video space of 3D, but sometimes also in photo space, of course. You actually can also display an anaglyph picture. something we just recently added. The purpose is not to show you again red and blue content. The thing is that sometimes images are only existing today in red, blue anaglyph format. Like there's no original side-by-side image anymore. If you want to display these, we are actually doing a separation for left eye and right eye content in grayscale. So you can even enjoy these kind of images without wearing any red cyan glasses in VR. And for many cases where you're presenting 2D content or the kind of cinema screen regular side-by-side or top-bottom content, the cylindrical panoramas are the format where you have a curved cinematic screen is often better compared to presenting it on a flat screen. So I actually recommend most of the times you want to do these kind of images to go to the cylindrical versions. It will look better. And the cylinder is actually made in a special way. It's not a random curve like some random curved 3D TV. It's actually specifically in a curve which exactly matches the rotations of your head. So let's quickly talk about some of the options of 3D cameras, and I'll have a recommendation a little bit later in the talk. There's still many around from old, over 10-year-old camera models. There's a few newer ones. Some tablets support it. Phones are starting to support 3D capturing natively. What not so many people might know is that even MetaQuest 3 has actually a 3D camera in it, which you can utilize through immerGallery. I'll have that in the next slide. Now the 3D camera feature in Quest 3. Quickly want to just show that we are the only app that makes use of the dedicated 3D camera in immerGallery natively by improving it. So theoretically, you can capture 3D videos on Quest without using any app, like directly on the Meta OS. But as 3D experts know, the leveling is crucial in 3D. You don't want your head to be rotated. Take a picture like this and then later watch it in VR when your head is not rotated. It will make you motion sick. It will be bad 3D. So one of the things we added in immerGallery is that we can display a virtual water scale and electronic level. So because you don't know if your head is really 100% not oriented or not rotated in any direction, you can actually have it visualized and then take reasonably good 3D photos, or to be precise, we're actually taking 3D videos. But we have a feature where automatically, when we know that your view was level, we can extract 3D photos from exactly these moments when the view was level. It's an expert feature. You need to run several debug commands. Unfortunately, the API for camera access in Quest 3 is not open. Nevertheless, we made the best out of it. And it's if you have a Quest 3 and you have immerGallery, it's kind of a free thing. Just play around with it, try it out, make a few pictures. Speaking about the 360 mono cameras, there are various variants. Most of them are basically, two wide fisheye lenses oriented like this. So they capture in both areas 190 degrees. So it's a bit more than 180. The overlap is actually used for stitching them. And with a single shutter press, you can take these 360 mono pictures, the software stitches it together. And you also have a horizon correction. You can actually hold the camera in a weird way, take a picture. It doesn't matter because it's 360 degrees. It will just be spherically rotated if you desire. The other kind of interesting cameras are the VR180 stereo cameras I mentioned before. Almost like 360, but they are not like this. They are oriented forward, capturing the half sphere with a single shutter press. And the cool thing here is there is no stitching. We don't need to stitch. We already capture directly front. There can be a horizon correction in some cameras, not as freely as in 360, of course, because we don't have a full sphere. But smaller irregularities you can fix through a horizon correction. So you still should always try to capture it as steady as possible without any rotations. But if you will always have a little, 0.5 degree rotation as much as you try. It's not avoidable. And you can have these horizon corrections in some of the cameras. And the good thing for content creators in capturing a half sphere means you can be behind the camera. You don't have to hide like in 360. However, the stereo effect decreases when you look outside to the borders of 180 degrees. There will be less parallax. So most of the time means you should put your object of interest ideally in the center. But pretty much everyone seems to agree on is that 180 stereo is much more immersive than 360 mono. So I think for VR, this is really a great way to go. And now we are creating our immersive gallery. The preparations we need are to have various images that we want to include. So for sorting it, I recommend using regular tools that you usually do. Image viewers, maybe Earthon View as a View one, ACDC. There's various image viewers, obviously. So just use whatever you usually use. Ideally, pre-select your images that you want to have included. If you're using 3D side-by-side images, the regular 3D format, you might want to check with Stereo Photo Maker if you do auto alignment, if there might have been some shift rotations or vertical offsets and so on. It can make a difference in VR. We also, for this exercise, want to include audio files. You don't have to, but we want to have background audio. And here's a website, Pixabay is actually a great website where you can use free audio clips and just search for it. And we also want to include voiceovers. We want to tell the user something, and that works very well with voiceovers. We also do a few descriptions, just adding some text to images. And for various images, we can also add GPS information. And yeah, now actually, let's do it. Let's switch over to the immerGenerator tool. Yeah, now we are in immerGenerator in this tool that you can download on immervr.com. And we will just start with importing some images. As you might know, in Windows, when you select last to first, it will actually end up in the right order, meaning then your first image is your first image. So usually select the lowest image, then press Shift, click on the top one, and you can see down here, it's now in the right order. We press on Open, and the images are loading down here. We wait until this is finished. You can, nevertheless, if you want to go in this area here, you can sort the images by file name or reverse it or by date or various other things. You can also drag and drop here images if you want to move their location. So you're not limited by that, what you import first. So even if you don't click from last to first, you can later always change it again. And what we want to do here is a short immersive gallery about an Egypt trip. And to start this off, to have kind of an intro where we increase the mood and prepare people on what they're going to see, I actually used here screenshots from OpenStreetMap, where I highlight the map, like where is Egypt located and which specific cities are we going to see during our journey. I didn't include all here now, but in our Egypt DLC, which I mentioned earlier, we actually have pictures from all these areas. So now to the settings. So this image, as you can see, is 2D. So what do we want to do? So first we want to rename it. Currently it's named 01. So we want to name it Intro to Egypt, for example. And for the image format, as I mentioned, it is 2D. So we could just set it at 2D, but I actually recommend setting it as cylindrical, curved 2D panorama. Once we switch to this option, we unlock this panorama horizontal degree field. The default, I believe, is 80 or 90 degrees. Let's see, maybe it tells us here. Doesn't tell the default, but tells us the value range we can use from 70 degrees to 354. And I want this to be, relatively large in the field of view, but not huge, of course. So I would say actually we take it at 90 degrees, which is usually very good for this 2D or 3D. So 100 is also good, 80 is also good. Depends on how precise the content is and how large we want it. So image description, let's see, map of Egypt locations we are going to visit. Image auto switch would be if we want to force switch this image, that not the user switching it forward, but after a certain time it switches automatically. We could set it. Most of the time I'm not setting it. I'm usually a fan of the user deciding themselves, like, okay, I'm done looking at this. I on purpose want to switch now, so I'm not setting it. The ambient background for low field of view images. What we do to make these regular 2D and regular 3D pictures more immersive is that we automatically generate sort of an ambient background behind the cinema screen where they are displayed. And in most of the cases, you want this to be enabled because it just looks better. There are a few cases where regular 3D side-by-side images have certain crops in black color. In that case, you would see the black color if you have a colorful ambient background. So in these cases, you would disable it, but most of the time you can just leave it on. We do want to show EXIF information if our JPEG contains information on camera model or exposure time, etc. We just keep it on. In this case, as it is from screenshots, it will not have any EXIF information, but it does not hurt. Is there any minimum age? No, not for this image. You can set it. It's meant for future usage in immerGallery. Right now, it will not have an impact yet. But if you're creating a gallery where you say, oh yeah, people should maybe be 18 or 21 for watching this content, then you can change this here. For some pictures, not for the cylindrical one, you can do a certain cinema wall offset if you want to fine tune how far the image is away. For cylindrical, it does not work. If I would go to regular 2D, I could actually set a little offset here. But nevertheless, we want to take the cylindrical image. There's also an expert option on allowing more aliasing, and there's always a trade-off between sharp representation and aliasing, where you have too much sharp content and it's undersampled. And there are a few cases where you might want to use this, but most of the time, just keep it off. We will do everything automatic for you. In the copyright area, we can actually set a copyright. So in this case, because we took it from OpenStreetMap, we will just put in OpenStreetMap here. We also have the specific element from MapTiler. So we can put it in here. We can also quickly, because if you are the only author of your gallery, you can also press this button, which will apply it to all pictures at the same time, which often is the case when it's all your images that you're showing, but we don't do that here right now. Under audio, we have now the options to add background audio and voiceovers, and I prepared also a file for that. So background audio here will be Turkish Night, even though we're in Egypt, but it sounds very good. Also from Pixabay. We can change the volume here. We can have it play a little bit so we can listen in what it is. Background audio is usually looped because, yeah, if it's over, you don't want things to be quiet. You just want it to start again. What needs to be considered is the sound in VR is actually relatively loud. So often I end up doing background audio at pretty low percentage because I also want to be able to still hear the voiceovers. And what we have here is also a list of built-in sounds which are hard-coded in immerGallery. So it means you don't need to have an MP3 file for them. So you can also, if you like, you could select something out of this list. And often for these slideshows, if they have, let's say, 10 to 20 pictures, maybe 30, you do want the same background audio for all pictures. It makes it a bit more consistent, and you definitely do not want to change it for every picture. It would be overkill. So what we do is we do apply all. And now when we switch to other images, we will see the same settings are already applied here. And by the way, what you always can do as well is just select multiple images at the same time. Like here, we select 3 at the same time. If you want to, you can then modify properties in here, and it will apply to all of the images you selected. So the apply all is just basically a shortcut, which is very often used. But you can also do it if you just would select all pictures down here and make the changes. So for image 1, we also have one voiceover where we do an introduction on what is going to come. So we just link this in here. Audio 20%. Yeah, it's probably then like, let's say 15, maybe twice the amount of no, not twice, even more than twice of that background audio. Voiceovers we usually do not want to loop because it would probably be weird if we explain something in one picture and then when it stops, we explain it again. This is not what people would want. There's an option to disable the UI image switching sound. When you switch the images in immerGallery, you get an audio feedback that the image is right now switching. It sounds a little bit like a slideshow moving forward. Can be good, but you might have a relaxation gallery, and you don't want to distract from the audio you're hearing for relaxing. So in that case, you can disable it, and it will apply to the current image you're looking at. So if we would enable it here, if we switch to the next image, then it would not be on or off. So if you want to disable it fully, just select all images, disable it there. Now the location, well, for this map, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have any location because it's just screenshotted. Let's see if we have another one where it makes more sense. Yeah, so here we do have a desert picture, and yeah, we could set here some GPS coordinates. I'm just randomly making up things now. This is not Egypt, very likely, but we can just set values here, and we can look at these values also in our web browser. Let's see how that looks like. So we are actually now nowhere, but we can actually change that. So let's set it to Hurghada, which is a place in Egypt, and I don't think I fully remember where this was taken, but let's say, yeah, somewhere here. And here we actually got our GPS coordinates. So let's copy these out. I copied a bit too much, so I'll put it in Notepad quickly. And we'll take the first component. We'll take the second component. Let's do open again to verify. Okay, it really has taken the spot for our location in GPS here. Yeah, and what it actually does in immerGallery is that on your controller, when you're holding it and there are GPS locations, then it will display a small map, which is zoomable as well from OpenStreetMap. And you can look there where the location is, zoom in and zoom out. So it's a very nice feature if you have travel content to show others where this was captured. If your image contains an EXIF data already GPS locations, those will be used unless you want to specifically override them. So ideally, or what happens if you import it here, we will already extract it from JPEG, we'll write it in here. But if you have any reason to say, no, maybe my GPS was wrong on the camera, I want to override it, you can do it. Then this one will be taken. Next, we go to the special effects. And these are, well, either special effects or, let's say, environments that you can set in immerGallery. We did make one specifically for Egypt. We also have various other ones, hot air balloons, leaf, meadow, rain, snow, and so on. But as we made this for Egypt already, we will take this for our start image. Next is time and date. Let's move this window. So automatically from the file creation date, we extracted this date. But like if you copied it or extracted it from somewhere, this date might not be correct. And in that case, you can just change it. Let's say it was in 2021, May 5th, and who knows, certain time. Okay, let's use that time. So you have it set now here. And you can also decide if you do want the date to be shown in the app. There might be reasons where you do not want to show it. For example, if you captured one object multiple times on your vacation, let's say on Monday and on Tuesday, and you're sort of combining it, that you're first showing a few Monday pictures and then the other angles from Tuesday, and then you show a few other angles back from your Monday pictures. If someone is very picky and looks at all the dates, they would recognize that you had multiple days to capture this object, and maybe you don't want the other person to know that. So in that case, you might want to decide, I don't want the date to be displayed because, it's not relevant and it should look like it was captured in one session. The time, usually it's not displayed in the app because most of the time it's not so important. But of course, there could be instances, let's say a sport event, where the time is important because you want to know at which exact moment was this picture taken in the app directly. So if you want, you can enable it. And another option is to only show the year in the app. And I actually use this for the classical stereoscopic images from the year 1903. Because first, I didn't know the date, except the year, 1903. So putting it in, whatever, January 1st, probably on default for 1903 doesn't make much sense. So let's just display the year in cases like that. We also have this phobia selection setting here. And on these, I will go over in the slides a little bit more. But if there's a specific thing, like let's say a spider image, and there might be people being afraid of spiders, you can actually set some values here. So acrophobia, fear of heights; arachnophobia, fear of spiders; carnophobia, fear of meat for consumption. We'll come back to these in a moment. But now let's actually fine-tune the rest of our gallery. So this is a 2D picture again, taken outside of the plane window. And so we quickly set this to 2D. We say, plane flying towards, flying towards Egypt. And this one is here, plane leaving Egypt. Those I actually want to do last here. And the scrolling doesn't work yet, but it will soon be fixed. We are working on that. And let's see. We have, in terms of orders, what makes sense here is this desert picture was directly taken after arrival. Then this picture we move here. So usually, of course, I make some thoughts before which pictures I want to show in which order. But right now we're just doing this a little bit more on the fly. And some snorkeling, diving pictures here that we want to move over. And these here are more like evening, sun going down. So these are pretty nice pictures towards the end where you say like your gallery ends. So we want to show something sunset style. Okay, good. So coming back. So this is regular 2D. And just realized I put the file name to this. So I actually wanted to do the description like this. So let's then change this maybe at arrival. And this one we would name desert. We don't need to add a description for everything, but of course you can do that. And this picture is also, it is actually VR 180 stereo Canon 5.2 millimeter. We can see this also in the part where the dual fisheye lens is actually visible. But with our special format in immerGallery, it will not be visible anymore. So we automatically take care of this issue. Now this is again Canon picture. So we put it at 5.2. This is like a fire show. Fire looks very nice, frozen in time in VR. And then this is actually from a hot air balloon ride. It's a 2D picture. So that means we want it again in cylindrical format. We don't set a value now, taking the default value. But what we can do now is in special effects, we actually have various hot air balloon special effects where the ego part of hot air balloon means that you are inside your own hot air balloon. So you have your basket around you. You can look up, see the flames. And we have combination with birds and ego and so on. So there's various things you can do. And I actually want to do the full one here where we have other balloons around us. We have birds and we have our own balloon. And this one is also from the hot air balloon ride, but I'll use it a little bit different because too many of these hot air balloons, after a while, they're getting a little bit distractive of the content. So there I will change it to only being myself in the hot air balloon, but no birds or other objects that might distract me. And we didn't do any names for it, but let's do here balloon ride 1. And let's do balloon ride 2. Here we actually have a 360-degree mono picture showing some nice beach stuff. So what we can do now is we can change it to VR 360 mono equirectangular. And this also unlocks the start rotation slider. And when we hover over it, we can already see we would start in the center view right now if we don't change anything. But let's see. I actually want the image to be displayed with us showing towards the ocean and beach, because I think that's a nicer start. So yeah, we set it now to this start location. We have another 360 image here, which, yeah, we name beach. Well, beach, well, maybe water, I don't know. And start rotation here is actually me standing here with the camera. So let's take that. Now, sorry. This is a panoramic image just taken with the phone from left to right, so that ideally matches our cylindrical 2D. It's actually very wide, like it's, if I would say, maybe 130 degrees, I would say, from left to right. Just guessing here, but we'll put it to 130. And we have one more panorama from the beach. So we put it again, cylindrical 2D at probably also 130 degrees. And directly at the beach now, and I forgot to set some of the file names here. So we'll put this as panorama as well and put it at 130 degrees. Okay. Let's quickly check through our file names so far. Intro to Egypt, Arrival, Desert, Fire Show, Balloon Ride. This one didn't have any yet, so let's name it Hotel and Beach. Here we have things. Here we name it, yeah, Hotel and Desert. And this one is the beach panorama. And yeah, here we are now at our diving pictures. So we have divers. And this is now regular 3D side by side. So we could either do regular 3D here or, as mentioned before, the regular 3D panorama. Usually I recommend the cylindrical, as I mentioned before, but for this specific content, I know already it works better on the cinematic screen. So we take it here without curved. We don't change any of these here, but for underwater, we have something nice as well. We do have an underwater special effect where some fish and octopus are like floating around. You have some of these bubbles, like the air bubbles coming up. So it makes it more immersive. So we definitely want to use our underwater effect here. And in the next picture, we also want to use underwater. So let's directly configure that as well. Let's change the format here also to the regular 3D. We should give it a name. Yeah, fish, for example, fish are good. And yeah. Next, we have again regular side by side. So for these ones, let's see, I think for these ones I want cylindrical 3D. They're not very wide angled. I think default at probably 80 degrees is pretty good for that. So let's see, Hotel Sunset. And we do the same again here. This is Hotel Beach. And yeah, our last picture, plane leaving Egypt, we named that already. For vertical, the curved cinematic screen can still be used. It's not as impressive because yeah, you have this small curvature on the portrait format, but usually I still like it better than the flat image. So we still do it in cylindrical, but we do a smaller amount of curvature here. We do only 75 degrees because it's not very wide, maybe even 70, I would say. Good. So we configured everything. We can verify background audio is put in here, no voiceover, but usually it might be a nice idea in the last image to have a voiceover as well, like saying, this ends our gallery, thank you for watching, etc. Then importantly, you want to save your project, and often I do a subfolder IG, like immerGenerator, and I name it maybe Egypt tour, and yeah, now it is saved. So now we can export our gallery. So we just press here on this export button, and there are various options where to export to. One, the easiest is just to say export it to the project folder. This is where we saved the immerGenerator file. You can also select a different folder, then you go here. Or if you have Dropbox installed, we actually recognize this, then you can directly save it into your Dropbox, which if you want to share the zip file is a very good idea. Also, we have the option, if you save to Dropbox, you're sometimes only interested in the zip file and not the normal images. So in that case, you can toggle this here. As you might be exporting your gallery multiple times because you're fine-tuning it and watching it in VR and you're coming back to see if the result was good. With this option, you will delete your previous exports of this project. Also, the pictures you saw here in the timeline, when they are exported in immerGallery, everything will be sorted alphanumerically by default. You can change that, but you have to assume if you share your gallery with others, they will see it alphanumerically sorted. And what that means is that you want prefix for your images. So we basically do add a 01 for the first image, add a 02 for the second, and so on. And maybe you find it distracting to have the file name shown in immerGallery as 01 intro, 02 arrival, and so on. So with this toggle here, you can hide this prefix in immerGallery. So people will still see it sorted, but just this prefix number will not be displayed in the text on the thumbnails in immerGallery. What you also might have done is you might have pre-sorted your images by yourself by just adding 01, 02, 03 before you imported, or when you imported it, before you imported it into immerGenerator. In that case, you actually first want to trim the numbers which were already there, and then you let new numbers according to the order of the timeline add to this. In this case, we did not do this, so we don't have to do it. Often you want to open the folder after export directly, so we would do that. We do want a zip file as well. We have our immerVR files accordingly. We have our zip file here. All background audio will be automatically put into the background audio folder. Same for voiceover. That makes it a bit more sorted when you're looking for stuff. Good. So coming back here, what we should do now is we should verify the gallery in VR after exporting. So we copy it over to Quest over USB, for example. We do have on our immerVR YouTube channel a video about how to transfer data to Quest. You should check, are all the formats correct? Does it make sense what I said? Are the voiceovers clearly audible, or is the background audio too loud? And yeah, you basically have to fine tune that in VR. Your PC volume when you press play will not be good enough to judge if it's audible in VR. What you can do in immerGallery, when you have the image open, you can open the menu, go to Modify Image, and there you have two sliders, a voiceover and background audio volume slider. And you can fine tune it there, and this is directly the volume that you will hear. You have to remember these values and then go back to immerGenerator and set them there again. Theoretically, you can save it on the Quest yourself, but you do want to save it for your full immerGenerator gallery, which you want to later share. So yeah, just remember the values which are best and then tune it in immerGenerator. You also want to check if the special effects are working as you expected it. And some special effects work not so well in 3D because your 3D images will have implicit depth by just having two different images presented to you, which gives you some depth perception. So some special effects might not work well with that. In that case, you might want to change it. Is the order of images okay? Yeah. You just ordered it in the timeline in 2D, but maybe if you watch it in VR, you decide, oh, well, that doesn't actually come along so good. Because, switching the image formats too often can be something that distracts people. We did this a lot now in our gallery for testing, of course, but usually I recommend not to switch image formats too often. If you have a collection of VR 180 images and some regular 3D images, I would actually recommend bundling these, one part VR 180, one part 3D. And what you can also think about again is like maybe in the last image I should say something, thank you for watching the gallery, saying bye-bye, or where people can get more content or anything what might be of interest.
Welcome to our Egypt tour. This is a very unique country with a unique history dating back almost 5,000 years ago when the Great Pyramids were built. The country is located in the northeast part of Africa and has a population of about 110 million people today. During our tour, we will visit the popular
Good. So now how are we now actually sharing the VR photos in immerGallery? So what we offer is basically support for self-hosted zip files. And that means you can use your own web server if you have it, or you can use something like Dropbox, which is free. And in immerGallery directly, we have a download option, which is basically like a URL you can put in here. So first we have the prefix selection defaulted at HTTPS, but when you press on this dropdown, you actually see there are more options. There's this immerVR we mentioned before, which is just for internal links. There's also various URL shorteners like bit.ly, there's short URLAT, cut.ly, or direct link to Dropbox, but there's various variants, and just recently the URLs got very long for Dropbox, so it's not as much pleasure as it used to be. So what I actually recommend usually is to shorten your URL. And what that means is you take, for example, your very long Dropbox URL and put it in something like shorturl.at. That's something we do right now. This long link. We do change DL equals 0 to DL equals 1 in the end, which actually makes sure that it's really downloaded and not visualized in the web interface. So always change DL equals 1 here. And yeah, we got our shortened URL here. So all we need to know for immerGallery to download it directly is 0E35W. And this is what we need to put in the download field if we change the prefix to short URL. In here and here, Dropbox drop down, we take short URL AT. Yeah, so now what if you have 10 galleries and you want to share it with friends, and it would be tedious to share them manually, 10 of these short URL, short URLs, yeah. But what you can do instead is we do have Pastebin support. So Pastebin is a website where you can publicly use any kind of text files. So basically you have an editor, everything is text-based. You can sign up for free. These are usually public, the things you put in, so don't put any secret company things on Pastebin links here. But basically what you can do then is you can take a gallery title. If it's in quotes, it will be considered as one word, like Gallery Regensburg here. And next to it, you put the URL where to download it. You can also have longer text and just one word before it, then it will just take the one word before it. And what you can then do in immerGallery directly on the download, we have the Pastebin. You can put the Pastebin ID in here, which is the URL to your Pastebin site. It's not your user account on Pastebin, it's really the specific text file that you're creating for this purpose. You can put that in here. You can also save it for next time you start the app. And yeah, we parse this file. We have Gallery Regensburg here. As mentioned, we have Rome here, and so on. So this is an easy way to have your own feed, which you can share with friends, where you can have all your pictures. To show multiplayer, we will now go directly inside the app and show you how to create a multiplayer room and also how to use the multiplayer chat to share URLs.
User joined.
Now, some of the future updates. First, how do you get these updates? When you use immerGenerator, there will be a pop-up with the URL where to get a new version if there's a new one available. immerGallery updates itself automatically on your VR device, so nothing to worry about, basically. What we will do very soon is the currently free, the free immerGallery demo allows, no. Okay. About future updates. So in general, how do you get updates for immerGenerator? If there's an update available, there will be a pop-up when you launch the app showing you where you can download the latest version. For immerGallery, because it's from the App Store, it will automatically update on your VR device. So it's very easy to stay on the latest versions. And great news for content creators. We do have the free immerGallery demo, which is limited usually to just watching 10 of your own images, but we will change it soon. So you can have one free download per day, probably limited to something like maximum of 100 images in a download or so, but basically means if you're a content creator using immerGallery and you want to share it with other people, and they might reply, oh, I don't want to purchase immerGallery full version just to see your pictures, then you can tell them, hey, no problem, get the free immerGallery demo. And yeah, here's one download. You can download one time a day. So next day you can send them another gallery, or from other people they want to watch content. Also, we do have video support in general in immerGallery. It's not in the VR slideshows and in immerGenerator yet, but it will come. So you can mix images and videos in the future as well. For multiplayer, we're actually planning to make sharing a little bit easier and generally allow you to subscribe to multiple feeds, like multiple Pastebin accounts, for example. And for that, we will also have better tools where you can maintain your own feed. And very soon, PC VR support will come through Steam, so that, yeah, opens it up to, yeah, a variety of different headsets which are out on the PC platform. And if you like, you can already wishlist right now, so you get notified when immerGallery is released on Steam as well. And yes, that is basically the talk. If you want to subscribe to our newsletter, please do so on immervr.com. We are also in various social media things, Facebook. We have lots of YouTube videos with tutorials. Also, actually, this video we're currently talking about will also be available on YouTube soon. And for downloading, here's the link to Metastore. Here's the wish list for Steam. And also I want to express my big thanks to David Vale, who was organizing everything and inviting me to come here and helping a lot, and Tom Dory, of course, also. Yeah, so I think we still have maybe 5 minutes for questions. Or
Yeah, he's asking, can you handle .lif format in immerGallery from the Loom pad?
Is that the layer format, or?
Yes, I think it's a file format sort of related to side by side, right?
Yeah, but quick answer is no, this one sadly not. We have a list of supported file extensions on immervr.com. I think out of my head it's JPEG, PNG, WebP, Hike. How did you mean Hike? HAHEIC, the Apple format, but not the one for not the stereo Hike, unfortunately, only the monoscopic 2D and panorama Hike for Apple. And I think bitmap, TIFF, and GIF. Yeah, I think these are the supported file extensions, but it's written on immervr.com. So if you want to double check.
Yeah, yes. In fact, not only does it support pass-through, it actually supports where you can record 3D video and pictures. Is that right, Daniel?
Yep, correct.
I personally haven't tried that, but one of the things he talked about here was that capability. So yeah, and you can turn that on and off. I think we're going to wrap up on time. How about that? Thank you, Daniel.
All right, thank you very much. Have a great convention. Bye-bye.
Bye.